Look at me, not for who I am now, but for who I am becoming. Because today, you're not just listening to a voice. You're witnessing a decision that no matter the pain, the pressure, or the doubt, I will win. I don't stand before you as someone who's never failed. I stand here as someone who's refused to stay down. I've been counted out. I've been underestimated. But every time life tried to silence me, I found another reason to speak louder. And if you give me just a few minutes of your attention, I promise I will show you that winning isn't about luck or talent or timing. It's about heart. It's about hunger. It's about making a choice every single day to never give up. You know, people talk about success like it's this grand, mysterious mountain, something only the lucky, the gifted, or the chosen few get to climb. But let me tell you something. That's a lie. That's a story we've been told, or worse, the story we've told ourselves to avoid doing the real work. Because the truth is, winning starts with belief, not belief from the crowd, not belief from your friends, your boss, or your parents. It starts with you. You have to decide in your gut, in your soul, that you are worthy of the win, that you are capable, that no matter what the world throws at you, you have what it takes to rise. And not just when things are good, not just when the path is clear and the people are cheering. No, the real test is believing in yourself when you're standing in the storm, soaking wet, knees shaking, and there's no applause in sight. You know what separates the ones who make it from the ones who don't? It's not their IQ. It's not the degrees on their wall or how perfect their Instagram looks. It's belief. It's the fire inside that says, even when no one claps, I will still move forward. It's waking up every day and saying, I will win, even when yesterday beat you bloody. Because here's the thing. If you don't believe in you, who will? Who's going to put their faith in someone who doesn't even show up for themselves? And no, I'm not talking about blind ego. I'm talking about earned confidence, the kind that comes from knowing your struggle, owning your story, and choosing to rise anyway. I've seen people with all the talent in the world collapse under pressure because they didn't believe they belonged in the arena. And I've seen people with no money, no support, no special advantages, fight their way to the top because they decided they were enough before anyone else did. That's what belief does. It becomes your fuel, your armor, your edge. There are going to be moments, maybe you're in one right now, where it feels like the weight of the world is sitting on your chest. You feel tired, overwhelmed, you want to quit. And in those moments, you need a belief so deep it pulls you back from the edge. You need to hear your own voice louder than the critics, louder than the fear, louder than the doubt. You've got to be your own momentum. You've got to be your own reason when nothing else makes sense. Because when you believe in yourself fully, truly, you become unstoppable. Life doesn't get easier, but you get stronger. And belief isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. You build it by doing the hard things when no one's watching. You build it every time you show up, even when the results aren't instant. You build it when you push past the fear, when you say yes to growth and no to comfort. It's a daily choice, a discipline. And every time you keep going, every time you keep showing up, that's a brick laid in the foundation of belief. Now, people will try to talk you out of your dream. They'll tell you it's too big, too risky, too late. You'll hear them, you'll feel the sting, but you've got to be louder than their doubt. You've got to say, I know who I am, I know what I'm made of, and I will win. Not someday, but now. Not because it's easy, but because I've decided I won't settle. You weren't born to just survive. You were born to dominate, to expand, to become more. But you can't step into that power unless you believe, truly believe, that it's yours to claim. It's not a question of if you can win. The only question is, will you believe it long enough, hard enough, and deeply enough to keep going until you do? Because I will win doesn't begin with a finish line, it begins with a decision. You know what most people do when life gets hard? They retreat, they run, they hide behind excuses, behind distractions, behind fear. They wait for the storm to pass before they move again. But let me tell you something real. If you're going to win, you can't wait for the storm to end. You've got to learn how to walk through it. You've got to learn how to embrace the struggle, because the struggle isn't the enemy. It's the proving ground. It's where your strength is forged. You don't get stronger by avoiding resistance. You get stronger by leaning into it. The pain you feel, the frustration, the pressure, the fear. That's life calling you to rise. That's life shaping you into the version of yourself that's capable of more. Never met a champion who didn't suffer. Never. You know why? Because suffering isn't punishment, it's preparation. You don't build resilience by having it easy. You build it by showing up when it's hard. You build it by pushing through the moments that most people give up in. You build it in the silence, in the grind, in the shadows when nobody's watching. And the reward is nowhere in sight. See, most people want the win without the war. They want the reward without the resistance. But that's not how it works. You can't become something greater without first walking through something heavier. You want the strength, you want the power, you want to command your life, then you've got to be willing to go through hell with your head held high and your heart on fire. Because here's the truth. Every struggle you've faced, every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment, it's all been preparing you to handle what you're asking for. You want big success? Then you better have the strength to carry it. You want to lead? Then you better know how to keep moving when the path is dark and you're walking alone. And listen, I know it's uncomfortable. Growth always is. You're going to be stretched. You're going to be tested. You're going to wonder if it's worth it. But that's when you find out who you really are. Not when it's easy, but when everything in you wants to quit and you keep going anyway. That's what separates the ones who talk about winning from the ones who actually do it. They don't run from the struggle, they use it. They don't complain about the weight. They get stronger under it. They move in the face of chaos. You can either let the struggle define you or you can let it refine you. You can either let it break you or you can let it build you. That's a choice. Every single time life punches you in the gut, you've got a choice. You can stay down or you can rise. You can cry about the pain or you can bleed purpose from it. I'll tell you what I do when it gets hard. When I'm overwhelmed, when the pressure is real, when I feel like I've hit the wall, I smile. Not because I like the pain, but because I know what it means. It means I'm being stretched. It means I'm in the fight. And if I'm in the fight, I'm still in control. Because every time life tries to break me, it just reveals another piece of my power. And that power, it's not something you're born with, that's something you earn through the fight. It's something you unlock by choosing to keep going when you've got every reason to stop. So stop asking for easy. Stop wishing the pain would go away. Instead, ask for strength. Ask for patience. Ask for the courage to stand in the fire and come out stronger. Ask for the lessons hidden in the loss. Ask for the character that comes only through the climb. And when you're tired, when you're stretched thin, when you think you've got nothing left, that's the moment. That's the edge. It's where most people quit, but if you dig deeper, just a little deeper, you'll find out there's more inside of you than you ever imagined. That's where the growth is. That's where the win is. You weren't built for comfort. You were built for greatness. But greatness doesn't come gift-wrapped. It's earned through struggle, through fire, through relentless pressure. And if you want to claim it, if you really want to stand at the top and say, I will win, you've got to be willing to embrace every ounce of the fight it takes to get there. Because the struggle isn't your obstacle. It's your invitation to rise. You know what kills more dreams than failure ever could? Distraction. Distraction is the silent killer of potential. Not the big dramatic setbacks. No, it's the little things. The notifications, the opinions, the comfort zones, the scrolling, the drama, the self-doubt. The moments you could have gone all in, but you let something meaningless steal your focus. Let me ask you something. Are you really working toward your goal, or are you just busy? Because there's a difference. We live in a world where it's easy to stay in motion without ever moving forward. But if you're going to win, if you're serious about winning, then you've got to get crystal clear on this. Your mission must come first. Your mission is non-negotiable. That thing inside of you that keeps tugging at your soul, the life you want to build, the impact you want to make, that doesn't just happen because you're talented or passionate. It happens because you're focused, laser focused, dialed in, and ruthless about protecting your energy, because life is full of noise. And not all noise sounds bad. Some distractions wear the mask of opportunity. Some come dressed up as entertainment, connection, or even rest. But anything that pulls you away from the life you said you wanted, that's a distraction. And you can't afford to hand over your attention to things that don't feed your fire. Your focus is one of the most powerful weapons you have, and you can't give it away to every beat, buzz, or shiny new idea that passes by. You got to ask yourself daily, is this helping me grow? Is this getting me closer to the win I'm chasing? Or is this just noise? There was a time when I let other people's opinions steer me off course. I'd shrink myself down just to fit into their version of me. I'd second guess my moves because I was worried about what they would think, until I realized something simple but powerful. They're not living my life. They're not paying the price for my hesitation. I am. And that's what you've got to understand. This is your race, your journey, your mission. And if you don't protect it, nobody else will. People will pull at you from every direction. Some will mean well, others won't. Doesn't matter. What matters is, can you stay locked in when the world's trying to pull you off track? Because the ones who win, they're not the ones with the cleanest path. They're the ones who stay committed to the outcome, even when the path is messy. They're the ones who say, I know why I started, and I refuse to stop until I see it through. It takes discipline. It takes saying no to good things, not just bad things. It takes walking away from things that feel comfortable in the moment but cost you your future in the long run. It's not always glamorous. You're going to miss out on things, but you know what you won't miss out on? Winning. You have to choose your hard. It's hard to stay focused. It's hard to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term greatness. But it's also hard to wake up 5 years from now and realize you let the distractions win, that you had the shot and you let it slip because you were too busy doing things that didn't matter. And let me tell you something else. Clarity breeds power. When you know what you want and why you want it and what it's going to take to get it, you stop wasting time. You stop chasing approval. You stop bending for every wave that hits you. Become anchored. You move different. You speak different. You live different. But that clarity doesn't come from chaos. It comes from getting still, from cutting the noise, from choosing your mission over your comfort. It comes from reminding yourself daily, this matters. I matter. My future is worth fighting for. And then living like you mean it. So if you're tired of falling short, if you're sick of almost making it, if you're done letting distractions steal your momentum, it's time to lock in. Decide what you want, define it, obsess over it, build a life that honors it, and don't let anything take you off course. Because the moment you put your mission above the noise, that's the moment you start to win. Let me tell you something real simple but real powerful. You don't have to be the most talented. You just have to be the one who refuses to stop. People love to talk about talent like it's the magic ticket. And sure, it's great if you've got it, but talent alone doesn't win championships. Talent can get you noticed, but it's grit that gets you across the finish line. It's not about who starts the strongest. It's about who's still standing at the end. You've got to outwork and outlast. That's the game. That's the edge. Because most people, they quit when it gets hard. They slow down when it gets uncomfortable. They back off when the pressure hits. But if you've got the fire, if you've trained yourself to keep showing up, keep pushing, keep swinging, you become unstoppable. Every time you show up when it's not convenient, when it's not easy, when nobody's watching, You're separating yourself from the pack. You're building something inside that no one can give you and no one can take away. Resilience. People ask me, how do I get to the next level? And I tell them the truth. The real question is, can they keep doing it when it stops being fun? Can they keep doing it when the results aren't instant? Can they keep doing it when they're exhausted, discouraged, and feel like nothing's working? That's where the winners are born. In those moments, when you hit the wall and everything in you screams to stop, but you don't. You breathe, you lock back in, and you keep going. That's the edge. That's the mindset. That's how you win. See, anyone can show up when things feel good. When the path is smooth, when energy's high, when people are clapping. But what about when it's dead silent? What about when there's no crowd, no recognition, no visible reward? Can you still show up then? Because that's what it takes. That's what it actually takes. The grind isn't pretty. The early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, the loneliness, the doubts, the setbacks. But if you can fall in love with the process, if you can learn to embrace the boredom, the discipline, the pressure, you can outlast anyone. And listen, the people you look up to, the ones dominating their field, they didn't just get there because they had a gift. They got there because they made a decision. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep building. I'm going to keep pushing until I become undeniable. That kind of commitment rewires your brain. It builds a version of you that doesn't flinch under pressure, that doesn't crumble when life throws chaos your way. You become the person who doesn't just survive the storm, you become the storm. And don't get me wrong, it's going to cost you comfort. It's going to cost you excuses. It's going to cost you laziness and procrastination and maybe tomorrow energy. But in return, you get power. You get pride. You get proof that you are exactly who you said you were, even when no one believed it but you. Because this path, this commitment to outwork and outlast, it builds something deeper than success. It builds identity. It builds confidence. Not that fake kind that comes from knowing what you've been through. From looking in the mirror and saying, I didn't quit. I kept showing up. I earned this. So if you're feeling tired, good. If you're feeling pressure, good. That means you're in the fight. That means you're not sitting on the sidelines watching life pass you by. That means you're becoming something. And I'll tell you right now, the ones who win, they don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for motivation to show up. They train their will. They work through fatigue. They work through fear. They work through failure, and they rise. It's not about speed. It's not about flash. It's not about perfect timing. It's about persistence. It's about the long game. It's about staying in the ring long enough to win. Because while others burn out, give up and disappear, you're still there, still building, still moving, still believing, and that's why you'll win. There comes a point when you have to realize that your environment, your circle, your atmosphere, your habits is either feeding your greatness or starving it. And I don't mean that lightly. I mean it literally. The people you surround yourself with, the energy you consume, the patterns you allow, those things are either lifting you or they're slowly suffocating the version of you that's trying to rise. If you want to win, if you truly want to become unstoppable, you've got to build an environment that supports your future, not your past. You can't keep planting seeds of greatness in toxic soil and then wonder why nothing's growing. You've got to be intentional, ruthless even, because greatness doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in alignment. Let me tell you, some of you are working hard. You've got the belief, you've embraced the struggle, you've committed to the mission, but you keep hitting a wall. You keep plateauing. You keep wondering, why does it feel like I'm dragging a weight behind me every time I move forward? And the truth is, you probably are. It's the weight of your environment. The conversations, the energy leaks, the subtle negativity that creeps in when you're not even looking. It adds up. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your standards. You want to change your life? Change what you tolerate. Change what you allow around you. You cannot surround yourself with people who make excuses and expect to become someone who takes action. You cannot grow in an environment that's rooted in fear, doubt, and small thinking. You've got to surround yourself with energy that matches your destiny. You've got to get around people who challenge you, who elevate you, who remind you of who you are when you forget. People who won't let you quit on yourself even when you're tired, even when you're afraid, even when you feel like hiding. Because the truth is, we all break sometimes, we all stumble, we all doubt ourselves. But if you've built the right circle, they'll pull you back up, they'll speak life into you when you're running low, and more than anything, they'll hold you accountable to your highest standard. That's the difference between winning and almost winning. It's not just the grind, it's the ground you're standing on. You can't thrive in chaos. You can't grow around people who only know how to settle. You've got to create a space mentally, emotionally, physically that breathes belief into your goals, that protects your peace, that fuels your fire. Now listen, this doesn't mean you cut off everyone who's not where you are. That's not what I'm saying. But you've got to lead your environment, not get led by it. You've got to stop shrinking your energy just to make people around you comfortable. That's not love, that's fear. And you weren't built to shrink, you were built to expand. So maybe it's time to have the hard conversations. Maybe it's time to set new boundaries. Maybe it's time to stop showing up to the places that drain you and start pouring your energy into spaces that grow you. Maybe it's time to create a routine that honors your health, your peace, your focus. Because environment isn't just the people, it's what you listen to, what you read, how you spend your mornings, how you end your nights. It's everything. Winning isn't random. Success isn't luck. It's built brick by brick, habit by habit. And your environment, that's the foundation. You've got to be the architect of your own atmosphere. And yeah, sometimes that means letting go of what's familiar. Sometimes that means standing alone while you rebuild. But you either create your environment with intention or you become a prisoner of the one that was given to you. You want to level up? Then raise the standard of what surrounds you. Be around people who speak vision, not gossip. Who talk solutions, not problems. Who live with purpose, not passivity. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. And remember, you don't have to wait for the perfect space. You can start building it right now. One decision, one habit, one boundary at a time, because when your environment starts matching your purpose, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your momentum builds, and you stop surviving in chaos and start rising in authority. And that's when you realize you were never the problem. Your environment was. And let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's almost too late. Your story has power. Not just the highlight reel, the whole thing. The pain, the losses, the dark nights, the moments when you didn't think you were going to make it. That's the part most people hide. That's the part most people try to erase. But that's also the part that shaped you into someone capable of winning. See, if you look close enough, your greatest strength is often hiding right behind your deepest struggle, but you've got to be willing to own it. Not just survive it, not just push through it. Own it. Because the second you stop running from your story and start embracing it, everything changes. You stop being the victim of your past and become the author of your future. Every scar has a story, every lesson has a cost. And if you paid the price to survive something, don't waste it. Don't bury it. Don't pretend it didn't happen just to make other people comfortable. What you've lived through, that's your fire. That's your fuel. That's your message to the world that says, I've been through it, but I'm still here. And not just here, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, and I'm not done yet. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more real people. People who can say, yeah, I've been broken, but I healed. I've failed, but I learned. I've been lost, but I found myself again. That kind of honesty, that's power. That's where connection lives. That's where courage is born. Because when you tell your story from a place of strength, you don't just inspire others, you liberate them. You give them permission to stop hiding. Give them the belief that maybe, just maybe, they can rise too. That their pain doesn't have to be their prison. That their past doesn't have to dictate their future. And here's the thing, your story doesn't have to be dramatic to be powerful. It just has to be true. You don't need a stage to make impact. You don't need millions of followers. What you need is the courage to be who you really are, fully unapologetic. That version of you, that version moves mountains. You want to win? Then stop pretending you've never lost. Stop hiding the parts of yourself that were built in the fire. Because that's where your edge is. That's where your strength was born. Not in the easy moments, not when everything went right, but in the pressure, in the pain, in the fight. Every time you thought you were done but kept going, that added a layer to your character, that gave you something no book, no seminar, no motivational quote could ever teach. Grit. Real, earned, undeniable grit. And that is the difference maker. That's what separates the ones who talk about transformation from the ones who live it. But to activate that, to really harness it, you've got to stop running from your truth. You've got to look yourself in the mirror and say, this is me. This is what I've been through. This is what I've overcome, and this is what I've become because of it. Not in shame. In power, your story isn't a weakness. It's a weapon. And if you've lived through something painful, that means you've been entrusted with wisdom, with perspective, with resilience. You didn't survive that season just to go back to playing small. You made it through so you could lead, so you could impact, so you could remind others that hope is real, that healing is possible, that winning is still on the table. But none of that happens if you keep hiding. So today, I'm challenging you. Own every piece of it. Stop filtering your truth to fit someone else's comfort zone. Stop editing your strength to make others feel okay with their excuses. Stand fully in your story. Speak it, live it, let it roar through every step you take. Because when you stop running from what tried to break you, you start becoming the person who was born to rise.